This was not on. That was my Bridget Jones moment. But I project. Could you hear me? Good. In addition to their practice, Cristian and Fernando have, for over a decade, served as professors at the Escola da Cidade, a school that I define as the Architectural Association of Sao Paulo, a highly experimental and politically charged voice in the city, and an alternative space to more institutionalized schools. As of 2 weeks, Christine has been appointed director of the school, setting up a great new pedagogical trajectory for the Escola. So congratulations, Christine, on the new appointment. Recipients of multiple honors, UNA has received top awards for projects by the Institute of Architects of Brazil, including the Carlos Milan Award, from the International Architecture Biennale of Sao Paulo, and from the Bienal Iberoamericana de Arquitectura. UNA has participated in several national and international events, such as the Venice Architecture Biennale. In 2018, they had 2 works nominated as outstanding projects and were finalists for the Miss Crown Hall Architecture Prize. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Chris and Fernando. Welcome to UVA.
Aqui? Já tá? Está? Sim. This is necessary. So, good evening. I'd like to thank very much Felipe Correa, Ayla Berman, the faculty organizers for this invitation. As he told you, I'm Chris Muniz from Arquitectos, and we are going to speak here about São Paulo, where we live and work. It's our first time in Charlottesville, and we are very happy to be here. We are trying to do this not in Portuguese. It's a kind of Port English, so I hope you understand us.
And I'm okay. Yes, and I'm Fernando Viegas, and I would like to thank you too for the invitation. For us, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. We are going to talk, as Felipe said, about the work we have been developing at our office with another 2 partners, Fabio and Fernanda. But we take part of a larger group in São Paulo and share, I think, the same interest and research. We're going to see this.
I would like to say that in a moment of strong injustice and intransigence, as we live, mostly in Brazil, positioning is a need. And we try to do this with all the work we do. The 4 of us have also been developing teaching activities for many years, and which this represents a fresh moment of research that's different from the office, but absolutely complementary. Yeah. This is our school, Escola da Cidade. Well, it's a kind of all of schools of architecture, but it's a small school. It's brand new. We have it has 17 years. But I would also like to say that this other school, School of Architecture and Urbanism from the University of São Paulo, where we studied, graduated, post-graduated, still remains inside us. It's a powerful place. And also part of our professional qualification, it's the modern architecture heritage in São Paulo. Great architects have worked there, and it's a privilege to get along with this. And we carry on this tradition. Okay. And sharing our ideas with you today is a great pleasure for us. Moments like this are essential to pause and reflect on the ones we have been doing together for 2 decades. We are at the same continent. In a way, we have a common identity, but so many differences. Brazil is experiencing a moment of intense political setback. After 30 years of democracy, with important social improvements, we see an ultra-conservative wave that tries to stop this movement in a country still full of injustices. Recent disasters are not coincidences. São Paulo is a founding part of the work we do. For us, the scale of the city is a kind of key in order to establish strategies for each project. We chose to show here projects in all scales. In our work, we try to set up connections. We carefully read each site. We consider our work a reaction to a place, to the pre-existence, constructed, social, geographical, historical. And talking about São Paulo, we have to mention this book. Obviously, it's an inventory of the urban growth of São Paulo, organized by Felipe Correa. And graphically stunning, is currently a work of reference for those who want to study this fantastic metropolitan phenomenon. São Paulo is a city that has grown too fast. We say that at the turn of the 19th century to the 20th, occurred a new foundation of the city. At that time, the city was modernized and many works were carried out, providing a major urban reconfiguration. The city began 20th century with 200,000 inhabitants and have almost 20 million 100 years later. The city began to gain European airs, and its population multiplied vertiginously from a strong immigration movement. São Paulo has become a city of immigrants. This will profoundly shape the character of the city. To support this unbridled growth, the city has spread throughout the territory, and the inherited problems of this accelerated and uncontrolled development are many. Installed infrastructure is below basic needs. Mobility, housing, and basic sanitation are still the most serious and urgent problems to be faced. One of the architect's tasks is to combine quality of urban floor with these systems, design these new services on human, integrated, and affective scale. São Paulo is located almost 700 meters above the sea and is part of a constellation of 39 cities, including Santos and its port. So it remained 4 centuries as a small village, far from the great cities of Brazil, all on the coast. And at the end of 19th century, it surpassed the topography, Serra do Mar, and connected port and interior through railroad. This fact changed the relation between production and coffee exportation. São Paulo became an essential money-making region, and from there many industries emerged. Many. From that moment, there was a huge spreading in the urban spot. Geography was rapidly transformed to adapt into industrial production. Infrastructure to support this growth was designed just in a sectorial way. It wasn't able to articulate different systems. It was always considered by subject, independent from the other possibilities, just as urgency. Obviously, this has led to problems of infrastructure and urbanity. Floods, lack of water supply and sewage networks, housing shortages, heavy traffic. Until now, infrastructure works are the ones that consume more money. We believe that it should be an opportunity to use budget of these projects to renovate the city, making seats for people, transforming it with a sense of place. In order to study and work with these issues, we have developed in our office some works at this axis. Railway line, this one, flood areas, industrial heritage. We are going to show you some design strategies we have adopted to face some of these problems. The first one concerns the transformation of peripheral areas. Sapopemba is a neighborhood densely built, but without infrastructure and any urban quality. Opportunity arises from equation of combining the cleaning of streams with installation of basic sanitation to qualify public spaces and consolidate housing. This is a plan we are working on. Some places may reveal the geography that has been erased, such as the lagoon to contain rainwater, used as a recreational device, and landscape design, engineering to our advantage, thus awakening new relations with urban waters. Protect people still living in risky areas by expanding decent housing, public spaces, and new services on a local scale, turning segregated districts into neighborhoods. New small buildings put inside the urban fabric like an idea of a new possibility of living. This is a work in progress we are doing. The second one is an urban project for a place that used to be a park. It's located on the floodplain of Tamanduateí River, one of the most important rivers of the city. It's a symbolic public space with important historical buildings and connections between downtown, Historical Hill, and east neighborhoods. Road work in early 70s transformed the park. This was the park, and this, into a node of transportation system, nullifying its other public functions. There is also an elevated metro station, 2 other express bus line stations, and the largest bus station in the city. So, the park is currently cut off by the most important north-south expressway in the city, and yet another relevant east-west connection. No, transformation of this park beyond its internal limits has a premise in urban redevelopment that could propagate qualities to surrounding neighborhoods. Briefly, plan provides 3 axes of intervention.
Deixa eu só passar. Acho que esse é
Yeah, okay. First one, road system. First proposal is to extend the lowering of the highway, this central one, already partially defined by municipality, until the end of park, near metro station. This is allowing the demolition of 4 viaducts that cross the park. The accessibility can be expanded with new crossings. The second, it's a public transportation system. The proposal for road system allowed reorganization of 3 public transportation systems existing today in the park. The project proposes an intermodal station connecting metro station, articulating demands of trade lines and systems. New intermodal station is developed around a leafy square and open garden, offering comfortable place for all users. Third one is hydrography. It was proposed a lagoon, a kind of pond in the park that fulfills several functions. It's a key factor in the design of the public space for a new urban landscape. This pond is designed to hold excess rainwater in times of heavy rain, preventing flooding in the area. Lagoon includes a natural filtration system through artificial wetlands and specific public programs on new buildings, parking lots, connection for pedestrian, zoning for social housing. So this is the plan. Yeah, this is this pond. And there are important historical buildings in the northern section of the park. Despite the physical proximity of these buildings, there is a complete isolation between them, resulting in a disarticulated urban space. We proposed to build a square next to the municipal market, as well as 2 new institutional buildings offering public leisure activities, sports, and culture. This is the north part. Yeah, this one. So after finishing the urban plan for the park, working together with a team of architects, engineers, and urban planning laboratory from the University of São Paulo, we were called to develop the building in the north sector to the headquarters of a new SESC. It's the SESC Dom Pedro Park that we are developing at this moment. SESC is known by, I think, by the Lina Bobardi's project, SESC Pompeia, very famous one, a wonderful place. But SESC is an institutional program in Brazil, and there are more than 500 units in our country. It's a fantastic program offering for free activities on sports and culture, workshops, theater, cinema, exhibitions, and there is a temporary occupation here right now. So this is our proposal. This is the municipal market, and we are working here, yeah. Yeah. So this is kind of final images that we are working. There is this volume, this black volume with a theater and sports, and all the ground floor and first floor for the public activities like library, restaurants, and shops. And so next one is, we can talk later about, I don't know, more, but this project is consists of providing urbanity to a new public equipment in a place, again, where there is no one. This project integrates this is interesting, a pilot program for construction of public schools in the state. The proposal was to raise the quality of projects and mainly the construction of the buildings from a structural system in precast concrete. Once some common parameters were defined, architecture offices could flex the solutions according to the characteristics of the site and program. A group of 4 architectural and 3 engineering offices were invited to develop the first benchmarks, aiming at the greatest systematization of the works. In theory, a single construction company could assemble the 4 schools, all located in the same city, Campinas, far from a central plant equipped with a single pre-molding track. We are one of the offices in charge of designing one of the schools. That's for a high school in a large housing complex on the outskirts of Campinas. It's 100 kilometers from São Paulo. It's not near, so near. The very small plot here with 2 corners defined the compact and vertical deployment. 2 accesses correspond to the 2 corners and are marked by the gaps that take off the volume of the lateral gables. The covered sports court was incorporated at the top of the building, allowing almost all of the ground floor to be released into the living areas, covered and uncovered, and gardens. The currency walls were also, in a way, assimilated by the architecture and end up participating in the volumetry of the whole. Classes level is organized from a central corridor articulated with steel stairs at both ends, allowing a very fluid circulation system and an independent use during the weekends. Works were very quick, and as we were far from there, we were able to keep up with because there were cameras installed 24 hours a day and networked. The closing of court sides made with translucent plastic was extended to the face of the classrooms in the form of a sand trap. It was thus possible to form a large translucent volume during the day and iridescent at night, an important reference in the middle of the vast homogeneity of this housing complex. The sports court opens to the housing and works also on weekends. Rooftop is made by a very light steel structure, industrial profiles for the trusses and thermoacoustical steel tiles.
I'm going to talk about this work, Maria Antônia Campus Center. The 4th project combines renovation of a historical building with extension of public spaces through new welcome areas inside the court. Maria Antônia Street is a reference in the history of University of São Paulo and a landmark in cultural and political city life. Catalyst of academic and social discussions from a School of Philosophy, Sciences and Letters established here in 1949. However, after a violent invasion of the building by right-wing students of Mackenzie University, attended by the police in 1968, during military dictatorship, all the classes were transferred to the campus and the building have been closed for almost 30 years. Military dictatorship in Brazil and throughout South America killed and tortured many people. Sadly, our current president proposed to celebrate the anniversary of the military coup in an attempt to erase this fact from our history. This was last week, I think. In 2000, we started a restoration project to adapt, set to new use, a center of contemporary art, workshops, music, university theater, and its central idea is to affirm public character that historically marked this patrimony. The strategy here was to propose a new relationship of the whole with the city, empty area between 2 buildings facing street, 5 meters below gains dimension of public space, a small square. At street level, this square is the natural enlargement of sidewalk and configures an inviting access to the whole. At lower level, a wooded patio connects two buildings, creating a place for outdoor performances and an extension of cafeteria of theater. As a consequence, side facade absolutely inexpressive reveals this intervention and requalifies square that goes back to the new public space. The idea of a new building within the existing building, respecting its own characteristics and its history. And since 2002, the works have started and it looks like it will be finished this year. Brazil is always like this. Many exhibitions of art and architecture had happened until now, very important ones. This idea of this new public space inside the court. From the street level, it's difficult to understand the renovation because
It's almost invisible.
invisible. Yeah. To talk about different scales, we are now talking about the northwest region of São Paulo, near industrial neighborhoods in transformation, where we had already done two other projects of train stations. This neighborhood's close to Sesc Pompeia from Lina Bobardi. In this case, an old fabric factory, a building of historical interest, was occupied by Science and Technology Museum of the University of São Paulo since the 90s. The project for a cafeteria inside the museum started from the following question. Thousands of children and young people visit this interesting museum every month. In this transformed pavilion, however, the outer central courtyard of the old fabric where cargo trains stopped and used to be loaded with production to take to the port of Santos, and where there is an atmosphere protected from the noise of the busy road, welcoming with the shadow of its trees and their stone floors, but was not part of the visit. We proposed the installation of these coffee shops next to these rail platforms, like a small transparent wagon of only 60 square meters on the old rails that could be disassembled and taken away to another place at any moment. And this happened. We can talk about this later. Its simple structure has 2 points of base, steel columns which support a central beam in the roof, which in turn carries the roof and the floor. The new construction does not touch the existing platform, and it's protected from the strong sun by a metallic screen. This project was an essay for a magazine which ran a competition about the theme of a single nomad or temporary or even weekend use minimum house. We seek to address the question in terms of urgency, risk, or poverty. We thought of a situation of a rural encampment or urban catastrophe in which a steel structure could be built with scaffolding and clad with very light panels and parts. Obviously, we lost the competition. These two projects have an interesting story. Two friends, within a period of less than 1 year, decided to move to the same neighborhood so they could drink together every night without having to drive back home. This is written here. First house has a plot with a difference of 1.2 meters, and the neighbor
This is the first one.
behind is 6 meters below.
Sorry.
So these schemes show a sequence of design strategies using the ramp to build 2 half levels. Then this facilities block. And then the most private area, bedrooms, in whose volume we excavate the openings, creating diagonal views to protect the house of the more immediate neighbors. At the same time, we looked for an expression in just one material, a house entirely of concrete, revealing its 2 different volumes. We did many tests with the foundation and finally decided to use the red pigment concrete with iron oxides. Well, as a result, we did an essay on the specific construction technique of uncovered concrete and an effort to bring green neighborhood inside the house. These diagonals,
Yeah.
views, and this kind of opacity with transparency for the outside.
This is the green neighborhood.
Amazing, it's like a park. After 9 months, we started the other project. Same neighborhood, same conditions, friends, each other. At first, it seemed that it would be impossible to make a different house. But this plot came with other terms. It was larger, flat, and without any possibility of views. So we had to create a new landscape inside this plot and put the house in the middle of a garden. Flat plot, 2 water tanks.
Right.
Yes. And we built 2 parallels concrete walls, 10 meters apart. And the sequence is finished by the assembly of metal structure and all claddings. Trees had to come in the middle of the works. House is protected from the street and neighbors, and yes, this is the result. For us, it's fine to look both together because there are 2 different strategies. This one with reflection and that one with opacity. And the last one, finally, we understand that city ends up being constructed mainly by innumerable buildings made by real estate that defines the urban space. When there's an opportunity to draw up what refers to the role of the city construction, not its exception. We thought about making a statement about this occupation. This one is located in a central area of the city, surrounded by facilities and transport services. When we visited the area, the plot had 3 houses that would have to exchange place to a new building. When the houses were demolished, the contractor built a kind of multi-use room there and organized some discussions board about the new city master plan and the possibilities that a new example like that building and others could bring up. Tall buildings that produce free cracks could allow enjoyment of distant views surround the lot. Proposed scheme was based on a structure able to alternate opening directions of apartments, guaranteeing best guidelines for all, views, aeration, and sunshine. Taking advantage of 2 meters difference existing on the street, there is an access underneath and other to a next level directly from the street, creating an elevated ground floor.
Okay, the apartments.
The uncovered concrete here was proposed to reduce maintenance with facade cladding and was built very quickly with the execution of 1 floor every 10 days.
We were used to work like Maria Antonia. That's beginning has begun at 2000, so it's not finished yet. And this 1 year, everything ready.
Yeah. The frontal building setback required by urban regulation was incorporated as a garden that offers itself to the city. Horizontal construction itself establishes the building limit of here. This strategy can be imagined as systemic in a metropolis whose current model are isolated towers in their small batches, forming a giant monofunctional city. This deployment respects neighbors as it preserves adequate distance in practice and opposite operation to the generic design stamped on any site without qualities. Now we have a short video to show you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lights. Very good.
Come on.
Take a seat.
Yeah.
I won't make the same mistake twice. I'll turn it on this time. There we go. Well, first of all, thank you so much for a great presentation and showing us sort of pieces of architecture that in many ways add up to a larger discourse and a larger set of observations. So maybe the first question that I would want to ask all of you is about the Paulista School, right? Everybody talks about sort of Villanova Artigas, Méndez de Rocha, etc. But the Paulista School is not just one thing. It's actually a very diverse set of views that converged in a particular city. So I wonder if you could explain, maybe through a material observation, right? One thing that's fascinating in your work is that while the Paulista School does tend to be very rigid in terms of the use of concrete, right? It was a much more available material at a particular time. Your body of work begins to bring concrete and the antithesis of concrete in Sao Paulo, right? Steel frame, right? If we look at the Centro Cultural Sao Paulo, for example, the architects were criticized because it used steel frame, right? It didn't use the canon of the Paulista School. So I wonder if you can explain a little bit, how do you position yourself within sort of the Paulista culture? And how do you think that has evolved for your generation and the generations that are coming after you?
Quer começar?
Quer fazer?
Pode começar. Eu vou-
Well, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to think about this because, well, at first we are in the middle of this, so it's a kind of difficult to be,
Distant.
yeah, from the outside. But I think there is a tradition, there is a kind of line, but I think it's not a straight line. It's a kind of mixed, and there are many, as we mentioned, it's a group, or there are many architects working, maybe 1, 2 generations, I think, working in São Paulo, that I think that understand this heritage, this kind of way of doing this with political issues and tradition with the urban practice, urban scale inside the building, and well, but everybody doing in a different way, I think. So I think this is interesting, and I think it's correct to think about this in this way. I don't know.
It's a good question, Felipe, because, yeah, we talk a lot about this. For us, we studied at Villanova Artigas School, the building. For us was very important to be there 6 years, living inside this building, to become adults. And then Mendes da Rocha was our professor. He was with us in our thesis. We worked with him one time to make a project for the whole city when São Paulo tried to be the Olympic city. So we are very, very close to these people, but I think we had the opportunity to start working we start working in democracy, and I think this changed a lot our generation, because we could look for what we want to look. I think if there's a school, it's more an ethic work together, more than forms or language. I don't know how you said. We try to react to the site, to the situation when we do projects. So we have works in wood structure, metal structure, concrete, and everything, because sometimes we react to the site and with the opportunity. So I think for us, our school, Paulista School, for us is to continue teaching, continue making a school. This school we teach. We are professors, Escola da Cidade. We love too much FAUSP, so we did our school.
One thing that you mentioned, for me, when we met last night, it was fascinating because, of course, we went through the lawn, then today you went to Monticello. But apparently, and I didn't know this, Lawrence Halprin was very popular in Brazil in the 90s in landscape pedagogy.
Yeah.
So actually, one of the projects they had to study extensively was the Charlottesville Mall.
Yeah.
So they were very happy to see it completed. So I
I
wonder.
took lots and lots of pictures and sent to my friends. They are, wow, you are here, you are there. Yeah.
We are here.
So I wonder if you could speak a little bit about something that then ties to this, which is the role of landscape in your projects, which in many ways goes beyond sort of the thinness of the modernist landscape. Thinness in quotations, right? Because it could be thin but very complex, into one that in many ways becomes much more elaborate, both in its sectional condition and in its scale. I'm talking specifically, for example, in the project for Parque Dom Pedro, which is primarily a restorative strategy, right? Where you're actually bringing back the lagoon that existed in the first place in very contemporary forms. So I wonder if you could speak a little bit about the way that your practice is interested and engages landscape, basically working beyond sort of the envelope of a singular architectural piece.
Thank you for the question, Felipe, because I don't know. We are in a very, very beautiful place. São Paulo has a very beautiful geography with lots of small hills and rivers. But to put together 20 million person in 100 years is difficult. And we lost lots of beautiful places. So I think we could, in this century, our generation, make each project trying to find this original geography. So sometimes it's in a very small piece, it's possible to understand a hill, to understand a river, to understand the vegetation. And I think this we try to do. When we have the opportunity to make urban plans, for me it's like the best opportunity to bring this to the discussion. We think that an urban project, because sometimes people ask us, oh, will be constructed or not. We did in Brazil lots of big projects like Brasilia or like, I don't know, Rio de Janeiro, Parque Flamengo's park. But a long time ago we did this. We have now, at this moment, it's very difficult to construct such big projects. And for us, to make a project like this, is not thinking about only to construct the whole thing, but to make a document as a discussion. And this is very important for everybody, for the society. We think an urban project like this is like what our work in the middle of society to bring this kind of discussion to other people, like a dialogue, and to bring this the images to bring back the geography, I think is part of our work. Yes.
Yeah, just one thing that's, I think landscape for us, well, all of schools in Brazil, we have architecture, landscape, urbanism.
In one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Like here.
it's,
Yes,
Divided by
yes,
departments,
yes,
but they're
yes,
all under
yes.
one roof.
it's
Yes.
one program. It's interesting because, well, everybody studies everything and is prepared to. But it's interesting because I think, in a way, living in São Paulo, that everything is built, the nature doesn't exist. It's a fact. It's no nature. So I think this idea of landscape for us is an idea of urban landscape, built. Everything is built. What are our tasks? So I think this idea is the landscape is related with system and infrastructure. So in all scales. So I think this is the way we see this and the way we want to work with this.
The different levels. Paulista Avenue is the hill,
Right.
100 meters above the rivers. The buildings,
It's the ridge. Yeah.
yes, the ridge. The buildings that makes the avenue, the ridge, has another 100 meters. So it's like a constructed geography now. And it's beautiful when we understand this.
Yeah, but I mean, in a way, that is actually something that's quite beautiful about the last project that he showed, in which, at the scale of the tower, you open the views in three directions, which is, in a way, a reference, I would think, to the Jaraguá building, which does something very similar, right? It
Yes,
actually sort of frames the ridge through the cross-section. But at the scale of the plan, it actually divides it into three discrete buildings. And there's this aggregation of small volumes that then make up the tower, creating, I think, a set of very intricate spaces that go from very intimate sort of moments to sort of the larger geographic view. And I wonder if you could speak a little bit about this curation of scales and perception of scales within the work. I think that's one of the most obvious ones. But I think it happens also in the houses as well. For example, where the trees and the courtyard begin to contract and expand certain views to be able to calibrate an experience.
Beautifully. For me, it's okay how you said. No, yeah. Yes, I think a beautiful question for us, Felipe, because we always have a strategy to look to the city. And when we say city, we say the whole environment. Sometimes we want to look far. Sometimes we want to construct the atmosphere, the interior, but always reacting to the city. This building, this vertical housing, we said that now the new buildings made by
Just the market.
the market, the real estate market, always are closer to the city in São Paulo. And this time we talked with the investor and said, we are going to make a new building, the first one together. So if we make a building that the city will be part of the building and people want to live there because the neighborhood is fine, for you is better. Because you bought this plot and it will be more valuable if the city is better outside and people could live looking far from the city, and they bought this idea, and I think all the passages and ways and every space has a beautiful relationship with the city, sometimes a little more controlled, sometimes completely open, and I think this is a very important part of our work. Thank you for your question. Yeah.
Before we open it to the public, I'm sure there are going to be many questions from the audience. But the last question I would ask is about the Scola. First, congratulations on being appointed director. It is really an incredible space. One, because it is just a school of architecture. It's called the School of the City, which is a beautiful name, but it's primarily an architectural, an institute of architecture that sits in the center of the city. And earlier we were saying that basically when you have a big lecture, you have to rent the Alliance Française Theater, and the woodshop doesn't fit within the fabrication doesn't fit, shop doesn't fit within the tower, so now you're renting a space a couple of blocks away. So in many ways, the school is very embedded in the city. And I wonder if, from your perspective as educators, you could say what are the biggest lessons, for example, that the school embedded in the city provides to its students. What is the contribution that the school makes to the neighborhood and to the larger sort of set of relationships that it actually establishes in a city center that has gained some level of density, but that still requires, I think, a significant amount of investment.
Yeah. I think, well, we are there since 2002.
Yeah.
And
So since the beginning of the school.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes. And no, the school is in this part of the
Yeah,
city. It's downtown. It's a tough area. It's not
I know.
easy, and it's not dangerous, but it's not so
It's
easy.
seedy. It's what you would call seedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the prostitution, with this kind of. So we are there, and I think when you are doing a school, or when you are imagining a school, every action is to educate. Every whatever you do. So this idea of being there was to put students inside this part and think about this. So we started slowly with these two buildings. They are from an important architect from São Paulo, Osvaldo Bratke, and they were residential buildings in the 40s. They are from the 40s, and we started this remodel very delicate with this idea of a delicate insertion. So now we did this ground floor opened now last year. So we did this in this all the renovation in time. So I think the area is changing, but not so much. It's not like
The
sending
gentrification.
away everybody. It's not like this.
So it's not gentrifying. It's
No.
actually slowly
No,
changing.
it's not.
Which is, I think, the kind of change that you want to.
It's
Yes.
very interesting
Yeah.
this because they are living together. Everybody since then, like almost 50 years, and everything okay, obviously, but changing with some places and a kind of restaurant because we don't know a coffee shop or restaurant in the school, inside the school. So the other places are
beginning to
beginning to
open,
start, and
A jazz club.
yeah,
A
but
jazz club.
Yes.
but aside, kind of bar or yeah, because that's it. Institute of Architects, the Brazilian Institute of Architects, is there, just in the corner. It's very near. So I think it's a powerful place, but it's being, how can you say, revigorated or
Revigorated,
kind of,
I think it was a project. Our first lesson and our first project was to put the school there. Was like, I think, a political theme. For us, it's completely different from our school in University of São Paulo.
Inside the campus.
Inside the campus, it's different from your campus.
it's a,
Your campus is so urban. It's so incredible how people can stay together, live here. The campus in São Paulo, a very beautiful building by Vila Nova Artigas, stayed to be formed there is incredible, but isolated blocks, very
drive to
beautiful. You have to drive to, and you don't live there. Completely different, and it was made in military dictatorship because the students' movement are very strong, and they cut this. So for us to put the school in the downtown area was a political idea, and when we did this in our new democracy, our school was possible because of our political condition, our too young democracy, 30 years of democracy we have.
Very good. I think with that we can actually open up for questions from the audience, which I'm sure there'll be plenty, and if not, I generally start calling people. Michael?
So when
Microphone's coming. It's being recorded. So be politically correct.
so when students typically go to places they have studied, they will try to take the iconic picture. Like if you go to the Salk Institute, you try to take that picture of the sea.
Yes.
What did you guys do when you guys got to the Charlottesville Mall? How did you guys, as architects, go through it? What did you guys do?
Good question too. We saw yesterday at night the first time, and we came today to visit during the day. And for us, we remember the drawings. So the first of all, we remember this plan with the streets making like this, and we try to understand the scale. But the pictures, of course, is very beautiful. The scale of the trees nowadays, I think sometimes landscape architecture needs this time. It's like Brasilia. If you visit Brasilia today, now the Lúcio Costa drawings isn't. Now it's finished because the scale of the buildings are the same of the height of the trees. So for us was like studying again this project, but Chris started to take pictures of each use, the cafe, the restaurant, because to complete the space of the mall. I think for us it's very important to understand how people are using this, and for me, I became very interested to the second streets, the streets that cross the space, because sometimes car could pass, sometimes not. I tried a little bit to understand how the relationship between cars and people, because São Paulo, we had lots of pedestrian streets in downtown area, and sometimes it's a problem because
They're dead.
they are dead. And here I think there's this very beautiful scale that it's very alive, at the same time protected.
Yeah, it's clever because it's one street, and you can, as I said, cross in some places. We have this area in São Paulo that we have many streets. They were narrow and difficult, many people and cars, and it became impossible to live together. So they are closed and they are just pedestrians, but it's huge and this is a problem.
Yeah,
for
affects
shops
businesses.
and
Yeah.
it's a problem.
You can very easily kill parts of the city by pedestrianizing areas, and I think here that is actually very, very well calibrated.
But just one more thing. I think it's interesting for me to notice how this kind of space is getting old, and this is very good. This one.
You mean how it's aging? That it's aging well.
Aging, yes, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's
I think there was a renovation or not. Yes,
but
because
maybe with this, it's not because everything is perfect at every part. I think this all of this the area, the shops and people, and
It's become an
it's
integral
working
part of the city.
very well. Yes, it's very good.
I tried to look above to go upstairs. Yesterday we parked the car
At the garage, yeah.
at the garage, and I tried to understand a little bit. So it's possible to go to this garage. There's a terrace, and I tried to make a picture from there.
To answer the precise question. Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's a question there, and then Peter. Yeah.
Oi, meu nome é Caroline. I'm from Curitiba, which is a city
Wow.
just near São Paulo. I've lived here my whole life in the United States, but I want to know, especially now with Bolsonaro in power and just with the political context, with environmental and political threats against all people, indigenous people, black people. What does it mean to ethically position yourself as an architect in Brazil, especially as Brazil with some of the most landed inequalities in the world? Also, as you go into Sapopemba and work with urban renewal, also in like favelas, what does it mean to ethically go into that space? Also, as you're working with these more upper scale projects, building these houses. So that's my question.
What program are you in?
I'm actually a first year in arts and sciences. Yeah.
Well, we are living a huge problem with this president, and I don't know what's going to be. It's very, very, it's a kind of setback in every issue, every part, and I don't know. I hope we can survive, and maybe it will pass without a lot of danger, but I don't know. It's a disaster, complete. But we are working. I think it's very important now we being in a school. It's a place of resistance. I think it's a place of our resistance by a kind of intelligence, by thinking and researching, working, and I think this is complete the opposite of these people, that guys. And I think it is a moment to work and be this resistance.
Yes.
We are working on this, the Sapopemba project, the renewal of the favelas. We are working since 2011. It's a project that's going on, but I think it's going to be done. It's the municipality program, so
we changed a lot, I think, in our last 30 years of democracy. And because we changed a lot, we have this reaction from this kind of guys. I think it's common, it's sad, but it's going to pass. And inside the institutions are very, very good professionals, architects, still working, and we have to resist all the time every possibility. And I think, like Chris said, to have a school to work and to protect kids, for us, it's very important to be erect, to be strong, to fight against the next years we will have. Thank you for your question. It's very important because for us it's a very hard moment. Our childhood was in a military dictatorship, and I remember how my parents, my father was afraid about his physical condition. And this guy, this president, sometimes talk about his ears like
heaven, like the ideal, yeah.
without the measure. So for us it's very, very hard, but we are going to fight.
But I think just to add to that, but one thing that I think is also important to distinguish here is how do you fight this as architects and how do you actually fight as citizens? And the great thing about the Escola is that you can do both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It is both a space that can fight sort of through positioning the discipline, but also as an educational institution that has larger objectives in relationship to societal values. And that puts the school in a very advantageous position. I think Peter had a question.
Thank you for a beautiful sequence of projects and this discussion of aspiration. I was taken by many, many things, but your final film, which is very much like the film Roma, but it begins with a view of the sky and the plane
You know
going
Roma, right?
through.
The movie?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. It also goes down to the floor where your columns meet the pavement and people working, etc. And the question of the lost landscape or lost nature or lost wildness of Sao Paulo might be recovered, reconstructed as you did up on the roof where you have water again, the sea, the Atlantic, if not the rivers, as well as the views on out to crucial parts that help you reconsider it. So I think that's called a garden, a place where you concentrate on a reading of a place like you went up to the garage roof to take another reading down there. So the place of maybe resilience or resistance, or maybe the two of them together, can be when we can get up to have an overview of a larger perspective and seeing the sun come up for yet another day. So those rooms up there and those multiple windows that you have are ways of constructing a city within your projects. And your high school, which is fantastic, also had the major piano nobile up on the roof. I don't know if they could see beyond the red walls, but at least they could see the sky beneath your roof. And so I think there's a heavenly aspiration in your projects, however harsh. And I say in this country, we don't have quite such a tough situation, but we're getting very close to it. So we need to learn to be resistant as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. So beautiful. I want to say something about this because this school is in a very poor neighborhood near Campinas, and sometimes these state schools are completed apart from the houses, the home from each student. And with this school, we tried to make it together. So every time it's possible for the kid to understand the whole territory when upstairs and to understand the whole territory, the sky. To when you are ground floor, making some physics exercises, it's possible for you from the school to see the window where your mother is cooking the lunch. And for us, it was very important to make this this connection between two lives.
Any other questions? Here, please. Oh, it's coming from both sides. choose the side you want a microphone from.
Hi, thank you. What benefits do you think could come from an exchange of students coming from Sao Paulo to Charlottesville and from Charlottesville to Sao Paulo? Not just personal interest, but what kind of what kind of things would you hope for students coming from Charlottesville to Sao Paulo, and what would you hope for your students to learn?
Well, I think it's great, this exchange, because it could be, well, as you saw, São Paulo is a city with a scale unbelievable. It's a huge problem, and it's very interesting. So I think this could be an interesting subject, an interesting thing to notice, to live. And as we are in an area in downtown, you can live this very, it's very close. So I think it's interesting. We have many students from other parts, from abroad, and I think it's important. And I think it could be fantastic, Brazilian student to be here. I don't know, we are just from yesterday here, but it seems to be a great school. It's in this space of work. I believe this.
The studios, yeah.
Yeah, the studios, everybody working together. Yeah, our school, has this, but I think there is an atmosphere. And it's in a huge university, in an important and historical place. This has how can I say, a peso.
A gravitas.
Yes, so I think it's very important.
How many people lives in Charlottesville? Do you know?
50,000? Yep. 50,000. When the university is in session.
This I think is
That's one building.
but the most impressive thing, because for us it's one building, Copan. I don't know.
Copan is 50,000.
Copan. It's like, and no one in Brazil sometimes could imagine how a place with few people like here could be so cosmopolitan, so.
Right, that's a great point.
This is for us. This could be the most important lesson one guy from São Paulo studying here could bring, I think. This idea that this hugeness is not sometimes not urbanity. Do you have a density of urbanity when here? And this is a very important lesson for us.
Peter.
Thank you for the lecture. I went to high school in a place that was city-like, as you described. Like, it's not dangerous, but it has a certain, there's prostitutes and there's homeless people everywhere. And our high school is actually a place that had a homeless shelter on the campus. So during your lunch, you went and you served lunch and things like this. So my question is, how do the design studios begin to actually, at your school, begin to address local sort of the local questions of the neighborhood that are like huge social problems, and how does this obviously form them as designers in dealing with these questions of social?
Okay. Well, we have this condition at the neighborhood we are, the school, but we have problems in all the city, in many parts, because it's a country with an inequality, a social inequality.
That's huge.
Yeah, so. This is the big problem, and yeah, that's it. Not the prostitution exactly. So, but we how can I say? We try to work with the community of the neighborhood and the near neighborhood and a bigger one, working together, doing kind of programs of workshops and a kind of a way to think where you are and where you are doing in that place. And as you are working with part of the community and students, well, the students don't live there, and few students, so they come from other parts of the city.
All over the city, yeah.
Yeah, and this is interesting because this makes a mix and I think a kind of learning for everybody.
At this moment, yeah, please.
No, what I was going to say, because the thing that's, I think, also interesting about your question, perhaps, is not necessarily how the school is there to solve issues within the community, because that's not primarily the point of a school, but the values that the school presents to their students because of the context of where it's actually situated. And I think that that's in many ways what
Yes.
what you're addressing,
Yeah.
right? That they're not just in the center, but at the scale of the city, there's a series of societal values that then set the stage for the architectural arguments that you want to make.
But there's another, I think, question inside the question, because now we are living at this moment when a young guy enters the school. He knows what's happening in our country, and sometimes he think, what I'm going to do as architect in this country like this? What is going to happen with the state? With the state, like the public dimension of the state, of the institution. So, what is happening now is our students are all of them activists. And sometimes this is nice because they are doing their political work as citizens, but sometimes we have always to focus them the idea of project, because if you are only an activist,
Then you're, yeah.
you can lost this part of your work that is so important for society.
You mean the architectural project, yeah.
Yes, the project like a very important dimension of our dreams, of our society, and we are here to make part of this. We have our contribution like dreamers, and working with different scales. Sometimes to make a chair so beautiful like this one. This one is very beautiful. And if you are only activists, I think you are not answering what society asks us to do.
As architects.
As architects.
As,
No, I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
our students, architects.
Yeah, for sure. No, that is a very important point, actually. Maybe one last question? For
Thank you for the lecture. You talked a little bit in the beginning about the affection scale or the affective scale, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how do you think this works, this scale of the affections and the and not only how your projects work in this sense, but also how do you relate with the different agents that you encounter in the architectural practice in general.
What was the
The affective scale,
the
like
affective
yeah,
scale, okay. So
I'm not a poet,
and
but I'll try to answer. So beautiful, this idea of affective skill.
well, I mean it's I think something that you're talking about.
I want to ask with I remember now one very beautiful Easter. I don't know if because it was noticed in Brazil, I think two months ago, and our very close friend Ciro Pirongi, ex-director, one time one of the school, in a conference said this history, and I started to read about this, and it's very beautiful. There's a small city in Italy called Cremona. Cremona is the city where the Stradivarius is made. And the violins are now too old, and sometimes they are afraid that it's possible for the humankind lose the sound of the Stradivarius. So they organize it in a very effective way to be in silence during 1 week, the whole city, to make recordings to the sound of each Stradivarius that lives in Cremona. For me, it was like a lesson for how we could be effective together.
Very good. I think that's actually a beautiful story to close the session. But first of all, thank you so much for coming all the way from Sao Paulo. Thank you very much, not only for I think exceptional projects, but also very powerful lessons throughout this conversation. I agree with you in all of them, and I think that it's very inspiring, especially at this moment where students are running from here up to the studios to work intensely for their final review, to have seen a series of projects that really put forward not only an intelligence but also a passion for the discipline. So thank you very much. And there's a reception, and you can chat with our guests at the reception informally after this. Thank you.